He's got a job for sure.
Last time I tried to write
Slowly. We're good for our dog.
I think we'll go ahead and get started. You guys keep enjoying your lunch there. I think maybe a few more people might straggle in yet, so I'm just going to start off with thanks for coming, and hopefully I think the lunch is good. I've started to have some of mine. It's awesome. So thank you. It's a beautiful day out. Again, I think last year was another one of those times the same day we did this. It was like amazing weather out. So really get you excited to get out and ride. So and then we'll touch on, just to kind of give you an idea of some of the agenda. We got Jordan Messerer here from UNL Outdoor Adventures. So Jordan's will kick us off. I'm going to show you a video first that the City Health just put out. So we'll start off with this video. If you haven't seen it before, we'll start off with that video. And then we'll go through, and by all means, when Jordan's up here, we've got as much time as we want with him. He can ask whatever questions you want. So, and then if you've got other specific questions, I've got, again, the presentation. I can talk about whatever you want to talk about bike-wise, and Jordan can too. I brought one of my bikes. I brought one of my cycling kits that I wear. So just kind of if you want to see what that looks like and kind of talk about how that works. I did bring a bag of my goodies and my helmet, so if we need to talk some basics or bike fit, that kind of stuff. Sally, I know you had a question about kids stuff, so by all means, if you've got kids questions, we can talk about that. I mean, between Jordan and I spend a lot of time, actually more of my time probably spent in schools. I think I've only been to 1 or 2 schools this year. I've got one tomorrow. So we do spend some education with kids. So whatever that might be, by all means, let us know. We can answer those, and someone else might have the same questions. So with that, let me start off with this video, and then we'll jump in to let Jordan lead.
Hi, I'm Sarah Janik from Bicycle Lincoln, a local advocacy group here to make biking in Lincoln even better. I'm here to tell you today a little bit about the events going on in Lincoln during May, which is National Bike Month. National Bike Month is a great time for new people to get out and try riding a bike. A lot of people know that Lincoln is a great city for riding a bike. We've got about 135 miles of trails, great residential neighborhoods that are fun to ride through. In the month of May, since it's National Bike Month, there's all sorts of fun events going on to encourage people to get out and ride, even if you're new to riding a bike. One thing going on is Bike to Work Week, which happens May 15th through the 19th. This year, like other years, there will be a kickoff breakfast. We're going to try to work in some new activities to have a little bit more fun with it, and then a party at the end of the week to celebrate riding. Local elementary schools be hosting Bike to School days. Check with your school to see when your kids can go and check to see what kind of fun activities will be available. Also happening in May is the Tour de Lincoln, which is a great casual ride, organized ride for people of all ages. You can take your kids, you can ride with friends, you can go by yourself. It tours through the 4 different quadrants of the city, sticking to the trails. about 15 miles each ride, so it's perfectly doable for anybody who wants to go out and try it. A bigger event going on is the National Bike Challenge. This happens from May through September, and it's a friendly competition. You can compete as an individual, you can join a team, or you can just go out and ride and help Lincoln defend its title as the national champions. One of the great things about the National Bike Challenge is that it encourages people to ride frequently more than it does to ride long. So even if your rides are 1 or 2 miles a day, that's a great benefit, and it's a great way to get started. You don't have to be a serious cyclist to have fun with it. And if you miss out on any of these events in the month of May, be sure to check for Trail Trek happening June 25th. It's another family-friendly event that is open to anyone. If you have any trouble remembering all of these things that are going on, or to learn about all of the other events happening throughout the summer, you can check out the Bicycle Lincoln website, Facebook page, or the City of Lincoln for more information.
So, today was the kickoff she just talked about this morning down at Union Plaza. The Jane Snyder Trail Center was their kickoff. Next week is Bike to Work Week. Next Friday is Bike to Work Day. I think I've got that on a different slide, maybe we'll see later. And then the National Bike Challenge. Anybody can compete in that. I've got it set up so that my Garmin, all my workouts get synced to my Garmin Connect on my phone, which then syncs to Strava, which uploads it to the National Bike Challenge. So you can go out there and, like they said, Lincoln won out of every city last year. We beat everybody else. And we've been, is it Madison, right? We've been battling Madison, Wisconsin. That's where the Trek headquarters is there. Trek Bicycle. So as you can imagine, they've got a lot of people riding bikes. So it's a feather in Lincoln's cap that we won this last year. We won 2 years ago. I think the year before Madison beat us. So they've been gunning for us. They actually put up signs and flyers that said, "Really, Lincoln, Nebraska beat us?" I mean, that's what they've done. So it's been really cool. So and then Nebraska, I think right now we're third as a state, if I remember right, looking at the challenge. But as a state, we've done really well in the past too. We won at least, was it last year? The state won?
National champions.
Yes, the city and the state. Yeah. So we beat Omaha, besides that, we beat Omaha, so Lincoln won nationwide and Nebraska won. Because I know we've had years where we've been close, and so again, Wisconsin battles with us for that title as well. So it's kind of fun. So get out there, check out the National Bike Challenge, and just ride. So, all right, I'll get your presentation pulled up.
All right, so I'm Jordan Messer, and my role is I work for the University of Nebraska, and I coordinate their outdoor adventures program. But I also wear a couple different hats. I'm on the mayor's committee for pedestrian and bicycle, their advisory committee. So if you have concerns about getting around town on a bike or walking, we could go there. Take it easy on me. And then second of all, I also serve on the board of the Great Plains Trail Network. So if you have questions about the trail system in Lincoln, we can also go there. But I don't know, I guess I just want to talk about getting outside and what that really means. And so, or not what it means, but just that encouragement and being healthy. So I did my undergrad and grad work here at UNL, and then I did, it's like serving time at Texas Tech University for 12 years, coordinating their outdoor program. And my wife was from Lincoln, and it's always comfortable to come back home, but it's amazing to see what when a town invests in on a trail system and quality of life issues. And for me, that was really important. And Lubbock and Lincoln are probably on the opposite scales of what it means to provide quality of life issues and invest in the community. And so it's been great coming back, and I guess that's the reason I serve on the boards I do, is because I want to see this continue to grow. And so I kind of started here as like, what will make 2017 this summer memorable, all right? And so the big thing here is, I don't know if, it's a couple years ago, they did some research, there's a great article in the Atlantic about how we spend our money. Should we spend it on material goods or experiences, all right? So, are you familiar with this research? Have you read this?
Personal research, yeah.
The personal research? Yeah, I mean, we can go buy the nicest iPhone out there, the nicest computer, and there's that moment, that fleeting moment of turning it on and seeing how it's different and how cool it is, but how long does it stay cool, all right? The same, the car. How much money do you have to spend on a car to really feel good? Does it have to have Italian leather seats, hand-stitched? It has to keep that smell? I don't know, man. It's not, does it have to have a sub-bass woofer in it, you know? I mean, to me, it doesn't add up. And really, it's the bike for me. Every morning, I've worked at UNL now for 8 years. I've never bought a parking pass, and I ride bike. And those riding bike to work every morning sets the tone for my day. And today, I call this a Bluebird Day, because in Colorado, all my peers, they go, oh, it's a powder day, man, no work. Well, Lincoln has Bluebird days, and I know you have banker's hours, and it makes it tough. And this isn't funny. I mean, it makes it tough. You have banker's hours, you can't leave, but because you have a service to provide. But today's a Bluebird day. If there's ever a day to say not to come to work and go goof off, today's that day. All right. And I think that's what makes it memorable. It's, you know, you think today, I mean, taking a day off of work and going and experience something, that's memorable. But also, you think, well, I wouldn't ride during the winter time, or I wouldn't ride when it's raining. But I would tell you, those are the rides I remember. I don't remember the 85 and sunny days. Those days are a dime a dozen. Those good. But I remember the days where I have to push harder. The days I see the muskrat swimming underneath the surety life in Antelope Valley. You know, what does that do there? You know? And so those are what makes it memorable. And then you know, it's the same even with as grandparents. What's gonna make how's your grandchildren gonna remember you? Are they gonna remember you by the Lego set you bought, or is it the zoo pass you buy for them, right? And the time you spend with them in the zoo. And so, and I think, and then the last part of it is the reason we remember experiences more is because they're social, all right? And there's probably a tie to that as we move through. And so I think of what Lincoln has in our backyard, and I think it's pretty incredible when you think of it. I'm going to use the bike and paddle sports. That's the other side of my life, is I do lots of instruction in paddle sports and trying to advocate for access to waterways so we can do human-powered paddling sports, whether it's in a canoe, a kayak, or now, man, a stand-up paddleboard. A bunch of fun, right? And so, so Lincoln, you already learned on the last video, has 135 miles of trail. There's campgrounds within, I'll show you some maps here of how many campgrounds exist within our drive of Lincoln. The lakes, the rivers, and then the recreation areas, all right? So this is, I brought some publications back here, but this is a map we have in it. So Indian Cave's down in your bottom right corner, that's a couple hours away, but there's Stagecoach, Wagon Train, Wilderness Park, Pioneers, Pawnee Lake, actually left off Conestoga Lake, right? Yankee Hill Lake isn't on there, right? Branch Oak, the Elkhorn River, and Mahoney, Schramm, Louisville, and Platte River, those are all on there, right? And then we have these trails that leave Lincoln that is incredible. I can leave my office in the center of town and campus, and I can ride a trail with 10 miles, 20 miles into Kansas, right? the other direction, I can ride to Omaha, which links up to the Wabash Trail, minus 10 miles. We're working on it. Become a member of GPTN. We're working on it. Omaha's deed us to the Platte River. We're 10 miles short of the Platte River. But you can ride the Mopac Trail to Omaha and get on the Wabash Trace Trail and go 80 miles into Iowa, riding trails. And I mean, and so the avenue is the bike, right? Speaking of Trek, John Burke, he has a very good quote. He says, the bicycle is a simple solution to many complex issues, right? And for me, the complex issue is just to get my butt outdoors and be physically active and make memories, right? And that's what the bike has done for me. So this afternoon, I'm taking my boys and their friends out to go ride at Piners Park. That Wilderness Park, that makes it look really tough, but Wilderness Park is probably one of the flattest mountain bike trails in America, besides that one spot. But you know, this is my staff. They're going out on Friday mornings and having coffee rides and making coffee before work, you know, at the Sunken Gardens. But there's, I mean, you think of Sunken Gardens, but how many other places like that are there in Lincoln that are accessible by the bike? And so you saw this video last night. We did the Southeast Loop. There's the dates for it. So I think it's the next 4 Thursdays. They have 4 Thursdays. So, and then these are hosted by the Great Plains Trail Network, and so this is a great time for us to show off these trails and the features of them. And you think about it, of who can do this, and so I was sweep, so I had to bring up the end of it, and the ride started at 6, and believe it or not, I got done at 8:30 last night, because I rode with a 10-year-old who rode his longest bike ride ever. So with one detour, it was a 17-mile ride, and we got back at sunset. So think of that. I mean, you know, there's one. You know, I'm raising, you know, middle school kids right now, and they're great arguers, right? And they always want to win an argument. And I just think this is my inspiration of writing here today. I figured out an argument that we can always win, and that's when we argue for our limitations and say we can't do that, right? And so last night, I watched a 10-year-old ride 10 miles, right? And you're going, well, I can't ride 15 miles or whatever, but I mean, you can. I guarantee you can, all right? I'm around individuals that stretch themselves all the time. So this is one of the biggest events in Lincoln, Trail Trek. It's a fundraiser for the Great Plains Trail Network, June 25th. And again, there's rides from, I think the shortest one is 11 miles, and the longest one is 48 miles, all right? And it's, again, getting people out exploring Lincoln on the trails. If you need beer to ride, there's all kinds of events for that, all right? So Tour de Brew, this is really cool ride because it's a fundraiser for different organizations each time. So the money they raise at each of those rides go to, I think the first one there is Lincoln Bike Kitchen, the Dream Factory, No Footprints. I don't know what nonprofits those are, but they start at Moran's and then they ride around town and end up at Brew Beach at each of the rides. And all this stuff is basically pulled on Facebook, all right? And another long-standing ride in Lincoln is called the Nacho Ride. You familiar with this? Right? So this is the Mopac Trail, the one that heads east towards Omaha. And so Eagle puts up a beer garden and has some food trucks out there. And so you ride the Mopac. So to make it easy, there's not much parking at 84th and O there at the Mopac Trailhead. Some people skip ahead and you can drive to Walton and get on the Mopac there, right? Or you can do it from your house and get on the Mopac. So, and this is just an informal event. There's no group leaders or anything like that. you get all your buddies together and you say, let's go to Eagle tonight, right? And then water, man, I was born with water on my brain. I was raised in Minnesota, and I'm happiest if I'm not on a bike is sitting in a boat. And so start thinking, and it's probably one of the biggest growth areas in our program with Outdoor Adventures. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards, and we're always full of doing instruction. And if you ever want instruction, or just simply renting them, we have straps. We can put them on almost any car, and we put them on minis, we put them on SUVs, backup pickups, you name it. They transport well. And so I think if you go back to, again, that map I started with, of all the different resources that really exist to think about where you can float a boat. And there's a lot more when you start researching it. So these are 2 apps that I point people to a lot. Is the NRD. They pinpoint, you can choose your activity, and they tell you where public lands are and where you can paddle. And then also the Pocket Ranger by Nebraska Game and Parks, and they will also tell you which lakes they manage, that they manage. Let me see. Actually, the Elkhorn, Nebraska Game and Parks, you can, they have river trails maps, so you can go there and find information about the Platte River, and the Elkhorn also are also great resources for that. This is an idea, one offering that we're doing this summer is the Full Moon Float. So June 8th, we'll go out to Holmes Lake and watch the moon come up, all right? And so these, I guess that kind of leads into kind of what our program is. So this is Outdoor Adventure Center. And so our program, it's funded by student fees, but we're open to the general public because of price differentiation. And so these are, and so it's open to the general public, all right? And so these are different programs we have. I talked about the boat rentals. The other one is bike rentals. If you have guests coming into town, if you don't have a bike for them, we have a mountain bike fleet. We have and then we have like a hybrid, just upright, great bike for the trail system. We also do, and so that, yeah, so there's a bike rentals, stand-up paddleboards. I wish I featured those more. How many of you paddle with stand-up paddleboard? Tricky. Come take some instruction. There, I mean, I never. I'm an old Pierce. I mean, raised in Minnesota. You should only paddle with one blade in a canoe. But man, it took me a while to come on board to the stand-up paddleboard. But every weekend, there's a high demand to get out on the lakes and paddle. All right. So think. And here's a trick: start on your knees and get comfortable with the balancing, and then come up to your feet. I think it's a great watercraft. You stand up high, you can see out more. Stay along the banks to start out if you need to. But we'll spend hours with my kids out on the lakes with them playing. Let's see. So the trip program, that's kind of like a full moon float kind of idea that you can look at it. I mean, if you get 8 of your friends together, and you come up with a trip idea or go through our catalog and think of an activity you want to do, we could probably customize something for you too. Let me see, and then the climbing wall, we're really fortunate to have a facility like this in Lincoln. So the best, for general public, we do lots of birthday parties for kids on the weekends, but if it's something that you want to try out, it's another activity that you can do here in town. Right? So that's kind of what I had for you. I'm sorry, I was supposed to preface. I love telling stories, and so are there questions that I can ask for you?
I think a couple part questions.
Yep.
One would be, is there an expansion of the trail network in Lincoln planned in the future, and then the second part is just the maintaining of those trails.
Yeah, good question. Yep, so, so go to, in lincoln.ne.gov. They showed it on the other one. And if you do bike, and then, or you can even go to the planning page, and then they list what the transportation plan is for up to 20, it's a long-term transportation plan goes through 2040. Okay, and the trail system is actually funded through Parks and Rec, not your transportation dollars, okay? So you vote your dollars when you vote for Parks and Rec and for maintenance. But that's, but I also can tell you, there is a, like In Street that was built, very expensive facility that was built. They built into that funding the maintenance of it, and the continual maintenance for that. Good question.
Outdoor Adventure Center,
Mhm.
where is that? Is that on campus?
Good, important information. 14th and W.
Okay,
So
that's
right
like-
on campus, so 1 block south of Vine. Most people know
Because
that.
I'm familiar with the old rec center.
Yep.
Is
So
that?
Caddy corner
That's
from
a
there.
pretty recent addition?
3 year, yeah, we're just finishing our 3rd year in the building.
Oh,
Yep.
And
So,
then
let's see, south of Maple Leaf, or Maple Leaves.
yeah, okay. I think there's just like a gap in my mental map that I've never filled.
That gap is a parking lot. And so that's, we made a statement, we got rid of parking. Ride your bike, I'm sorry.
So my other question is the trips, are those discounted for UNL staff and employees? So if they were to book the package, because, like, I'm thinking of a specific thing that I was gonna do with some
Yeah,
friends,
yeah.
and I do have, like, one phone to
Yes.
UNL.
So so we're student fee funded, so you have to be a member of the rec center. And so, students are members of the rec center, faculty and staff can purchase memberships.
So, but members of the general public can access and pay for trips outside of membership?
Yep.
Okay, so that is just.
Yep, exactly. So there's pricing level differences for our rentals, trips, and all that. And it's not much. Good questions. That's good.
This is probably a dumb question, but on the map I'm looking at here, it has the on-street bike routes.
Yes.
What is different about that than just any other street that you ride down?
One, good question, and if there's something Lincoln is always marked down upon is the lack of facilities for on-street. And so basically what those show is there's green signage dedicating it as a bike, showing that it's a bike path. Hopefully drivers can recognize it. And we're trying to show cyclists where are the direct routes outside busy streets, basically, is what that is.
Doesn't Lincoln have the longest protected bike lane, like in the US? This was like a 2013 announcement. I was
Yeah.
living someplace else at the time, Lincoln popped up. on the
Lincoln
map.
popped up.
Because it's that N Street,
Yep,
N
yep.
Street corridor.
I think it might, at the time in
Like, so. would
2014 or
people-
15, I think
Yeah.
it was, and it still might be,
It's just because it's protected
Yeah.
and
it's super long, yeah.
It's really uninterrupted.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that stat for a while, but I remember when that stat
Yeah,
was
I think
thrown
you're
out.
right, I think it is. Yeah.
Let's see. So, yeah, so the maps, the Great Plains Trail Network maps back there, they really, I believe the stat is basically anywhere in Lincoln, you're a half mile from a bike facility or trail. So I think it's,
Can I ask you, I see a lot of cyclists riding on the street.
Mhm.
Well, there's a sidewalk. Is that the actual rules to ride on the street instead of the sidewalk? What is safest?
yeah, so the safest is, there isn't a rule,
Okay.
but as a cyclist, we're safest on the street.
On the street.
If we ride on sidewalks, then we have a lot of crossing like people backing out of driveways, they're not
Okay.
looking for a cyclist. But if we ride on a street, then they look to the street where we're at, okay?
Okay.
And then especially intersections then too. Cars aren't expecting cyclists to be coming off a sidewalk, right? And so if we're out in both ways, either coming up from behind them or in from the other direction. So the deal is the easy comment here, and believe me, raise your hand if you've seen a cyclist break a law and you've been frustrated by it, right? But this is my thing. Actually, there's great research just done at the university. It's called the scoff laws. And so we get really upset at cyclists because they break laws, right? Me too, right? But do we ever, and I get mad because they make me look bad. But have you ever got mad at someone because they didn't use their blinker and you go, wow, they represent me bad. I wish they would use their blinker, right? In fact, we don't get mad at the person that doesn't use their blinker when they get out of our way. We only get mad at that person because they slowed us down, right? And so we gotta start thinking, sorry, I gotta bring up the B word, the bias, right? And so, so the deal is, and it's the same thing. Brent videotapes all his rides, and I ride, and I guarantee you, every day I see people run stoplights in cars. Okay, I see them actually stop signs, but stoplights too. Not everyday stoplights. Well, if you count the yellows and the long amber, right? Okay, and then think of this. Are body shops busy in town? Would you even invest in a body shop? Are those because people are following laws, right? So again, we need to start thinking of how we're all users of the roadway.
So I do a lot of biking, and I
Yep.
started biking in the DC area.
Yep.
So, you know, the onus is very much on you for safety. I actually found that environment, and I've lived other places where rules of the road are a lot more flexible, open to interpretation, because there's so much volume, nobody expects anything. You expect that you have to pay attention. So what I find in Lincoln is that people are just used to more standardized practices. Like in the Midwest at large, if you pass somebody on the right, oh my gosh, you have betrayed this golden rule. Well, on the East Coast, the West Coast, everywhere, if you don't pass when you can on the right, you're also breaking the rules. So there's some basic cultural aspects that go along with biking that kind of change by region. And here what I've found is I feel definitively safer when I act as a vehicle on the road. So, I also, though I'm guilty of, if there's nobody at the intersection at night, I go through it. But the one thing that I think is really important as you're acclimating to becoming a biker in Lincoln, don't feel like you have to bike in the gutter, because that is not safe for you. And if there's traffic, if you're moving at pace with the cars, you should feel comfortable taking up a lane spot, because you don't necessarily want to encourage people to go around you if they don't have passing space. So there's a couple of things that you really should feel empowered to just take up the space that you need to be safe. You might make some people mad. When you can, hop off the road and then pop back on if you've been able to check all of your blind spots. But don't feel bullied into riding in that margin, because as a car, that makes me less comfortable. I've been biking for a long time, so I can see.
This is really
but
this is really advanced biking moves here. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. So a cyclist does best if they drive their bike as a vehicle. So if we follow the exact same rules that are expected of the road.
So that goes back to the sidewalk versus the street. You are expected to treat yourself as a vehicle, on legal footing. You're not really supposed to be a vehicle.
It's the same way. I mean, we get upset when people cut in line, any line, right? Whether we're in a when we're merging lanes, when people pass us in cars and they go up and they cheated us because they took the empty lane and got in front of us. We feel cheated if a bike goes by and they're not part of traffic, right? And so, yeah. Good. Anything else?
Kind of going off of what she said, if you're in traffic, if you just go your own pace, you don't feel like you have to, if you feel the traffic going, you have an obligation to push yourself. Just feel comfortable, because first of all, like she said, you have a right to the road just as much as a vehicle does. And I also agree, because I ride on the highway a lot. Yeah, I ride to the white line on the shoulder, even though you are entitled to be out on the lane if you want. But give yourself less of a recovery plan if you're out that much closer to the ditch in case something does happen. It gives your ability to move out. If you're that much farther over, you're going to get stuck. But don't feel like you have to speed up or push yourself, because then you're going to be taxing yourself trying to go faster, and you're not going to react as well. If you're comfortable speed, you're able to maneuver a lot better. And I think
It's no longer fun.
Yeah, you're more worried about making sure you're not upsetting the traffic. I don't worry about that. They're going to go around you. So
Yeah, they're really capable of accelerating and going around you much faster than you could
Yeah.
with them for 20 miles.
yeah, I don't. It's just when you're out on the highway going 50 by you just keep your pace and you keep your line, and
You become predictable.
Great,
So,
yeah, exactly.
You gotta be predictable, yep.
that's like when I come to a stop. The last thing, when I come to a stop in an intersection, if you're coming to a cross section or something, and you kind of come up with the car, I just make it a practice is when I go to stop, I stop my bike and I take my foot off my pedal and put it on the ground. It shows the car that you're not moving, because sometimes you'll get into a kind of a chicken game. If you're kind of moving and you're trying to kind of stopping, but you're still on, I just step my foot off the bike and put it on the ground. It tells them I'm not going anywhere, just go ahead and go. It's not worth trying to figure out who's going to meet first in the intersection.
Midwest polite. No, you go. No, you go.
Yeah, and pretty soon you're
And that's where we say, make eye contact, make sure they see you. And sometimes you wait, sometimes you'll see the motorist will wave you on, and that's great. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, being predictable is something else that, Jordan and I are both league certified instructors, so that's partly why we're out at different schools and doing different things too. But yeah, the treating yourself like a vehicle is good, but there's also starting to be, again, sometimes breaking the rules is something you may do for safety, and that's what, you can't, we're not a car, okay? We don't have that ability to accelerate and like they can. So that's why, and our advantage is though, I have much better sight and sound and smell. So what's the buzzword is the Idaho stop. I never heard of that. Idaho has a law where a bicycle doesn't have to stop at a stop sign. So treat it as a yield. And there are times where, for my own safety, if you can imagine a four-way intersection, we've got quite a few around where there's stop signs at all four. For me to slow down, stop, put my foot down, and then get going again, I've just caused more confusion and havoc at that intersection. Like you were just saying, putting your foot down, they know what you're doing, right? If you have to, you have to, right? But there are times where it's to my advantage and everybody's advantage to proceed through that more safely, that I don't come to a complete stop, and in my case, unclip my foot and put it down. So again, my vision and sight and smell is so much better than people that are in a car with the radio cranked, have no idea what's going on, okay? So, and that's something, I showed you the jerseys up over there as part of the Nebraska Bicycle Alliance, something that we've done the last few years, advocating for laws and changes. Last year we got LD 716 passed. We're looking at some of those things. Now, again, knowing our culture and being Midwest, that's going to be a tough sell. And usually it doesn't happen until some of the states around us start to adopt that. But there's other things on our list we want to tackle first. But that's something, that that would, I'd like to consider at some point, because I don't think people realize that it's me being, I'm gonna be as safe as I can be when I'm out there on the bike, period. Now, I don't record every ride. I do have a camera front and back on every ride. So I do take a lot of video and pictures. So like you were saying, I do capture a lot of people, you know, doing the wrong thing. And I do it more for my safety and peace of mind. But it's, yeah. So, but I definitely encourage you to get out and ride. You know, the trails in town are great. Talking about riding the highways, don't be afraid of that either. This morning, my morning ride is to ride to Bennett and back. So I do that before the sun's up. So I get to see the sunrise every morning, most mornings, as I ride out there and back. So it's pretty awesome. Again, getting out, getting that energy first thing in the morning. I'm not riding this guy very much anymore right now. This is more my winter bike, but I take it to the schools. Kids love to see it. They love to, you know, experience that for the first time and see what that's like. But it's fun. So
I live on a gravel road, and I have a 5- and 7-year-old that can both ride with no training wheels, but one of them's just barely there. So when we ride, we either just ride around in our area, or I will load their bikes in my trunk, take them into town, and then we ride in Perth, is where I live. So are there some safety things I could do that we could feel safe on our gravel road, or is it better just not to even mess with that with kids? They have helmets.
start with that.
So actually, riding gravel is like the biggest trend right now. So a lot of people are leaving the highways because every mile, every square mile, there's a gravel road that has, you know, a tenth of the traffic of any road, right? Most of them. There are some dirt roads that we would avoid on a bike also. But the issue with a small kid is on gravel we seek the worn out where there isn't gravel, right? The hard pack. And so yeah, it's your comfortability in knowing your road. But I mean, the other part is you're not sending them out there by yourself.
No.
So you're out there, you're a bigger target, and a target that people recognize you to say, hey, there's something up here on the road.
Right now, I'm not biking with them though, because I'm still helping.
Yeah.
So,
Well, even if you're walking, right? But I would be walking. Last night, and I have kids, so last night I'm riding with this 10-year-old, and we're riding through, even the trail systems aren't perfectly safe, right? Because we have to interact with cars at every intersection. And so and I do the same with my children when I ride, is that I'm going first, and I'm sometimes I point at cars to make sure that they recognize me, because I have a treasure with me, right? And I want to make sure that they're paying attention, right? And so, seeing a bearded man with a ponytail pointing at you gets attention, right? And but yeah, so I mean that's it. And I go out to make sure that car slows down and isn't going to run into the crosswalk. These right-on reds are really, right-on reds, you blow, where the stop sign is optional, right? If I just go up and look where the traffic's coming, not this direction, I can go, right? That's common culture now of driving, right? And so and the same thing at right-on red, so as a cyclist, I'm really careful, and then especially with my child there, I'm going to put myself out there to make sure that so I'm just relating it. So you got to be out there with them so people see that not just a small child on a bike, they see you also.
Their bikes, are they set up okay for the gravel? Are they having trouble on that at all?
I don't even let them go on the gravel road right now, so I have no idea.
Oh, so you
They're
haven't
just
let,
in trouble.
okay.
Oh, okay.
No, we have a rock driveway that's really long, so we do that,
Okay.
and they're okay on that.
Because again, I've probably since, this winter, I spend most of my time on the gravel road, so that bike and my cross bike, I bet you I've ridden 1,000 more miles in the last 6 months, all on gravel. So, I mean, like Jordan said, gravel is pretty awesome. And we actually, you know, here in Lincoln, we have Gravel Worlds, which is like become one of the most renowned gravel races, 150-mile race in the country. I mean, we've got a lot of big stars now that come to do that race. It's later here in August. So the gravel is pretty good. I like it because it's quiet. You don't see much traffic. I mean, I'm lucky when I go out on my morning ride. It's like in the winter, instead of me riding in Bennett on the highway, I'd head straight out on gravel. And that's what I do. It's either that bike or my cross bike, which is built to handle the gravel. So it's nice and comfortable. So
Where do you go in town?
Just into Firth and then we ride on the street, but
Oh,
there's
okay. Oh.
very minimal traffic.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. The other, you know, all those campsites, you know, think of those as places to go ride because the speed limit's 25.
yeah, all the parks,
All the parks.
state
and all that,
parks,
Yeah.
wagon trains.
People expect kids to be out, you know, people aren't in most cases.
And do you have even lights? Like this is just this is not even maybe a $10 light, but just to have and that's the kind of the biggest, newest thing too nowadays is, and Trek is when you talk about Trek, they were advocates for lighting all the time. So I do it now where on all my bikes, if you see me out on a ride, I'm going to have at least one, maybe two tail lights going all the time. Headlights, if I can run them that long, I do. But even a headlight, a blinking headlight during the day is actually almost critical because people are distracted nowadays. That's the biggest problem. I mean, they are not paying attention, yes. Their phone, I can't tell you how many times you have. I mean, people have their phones up and they're not paying attention. So I'm on guard for that all the time. But if you know your traffic much on the gravel, then I mean you get to know it. Like I can tell you on the route that I do, I can tell you the exact guy, the truck, and what time he's going to drive by me. And I know exactly where he's going, and you just get to, you get to know a pattern, right? So you get comfortable with that if you know that. And they'll get to know that you're out there. I guarantee you, the people that are commuting from Firth or south of Bennett and from coming in from Highway 2 from Lincoln, I guarantee you those people, if you ask them, there's some crazy guy that bikes year-round on Highway 2. That's me. You know, I mean, I'm that guy. So I don't know who those people are. If you ever know anybody, friends or family, they're probably going, some guy is always out there in the morning in the dark biking. But I'm more lit up and visible and feel just as safe out there as I do anywhere else, trust me. Jordan knows this too. Yeah, so I would encourage you guys to go out and ride it. You'd be surprised.
Any other questions?
I don't know how much experience either you have with buying used bikes, but if I was going to buy a used bike, what things do I need to be asking? What questions do I need to ask? What things do I need to be looking for in a bike?
So the go for a name brand is the first. So Specialized, Trek, Giant. You need because the big part there is you don't go to a toy store or a big box store and buy a bike, right? It just I'm on campus and there's probably 400 abandoned bikes each year. And it's because they buy a bike that was made for a kid that is non-maintainable, okay? And it's uncomfortable, it's heavy, okay? And so you go to a bike shop to buy a bike. And so the deal there is that's where I would start. And actually, there's actually a blue book for bikes. You can Google and you could put in the make and model. So Craigslist, there's a couple used bike shops here in town. Recycle, I know them probably more. There's one downtown, Salty Dog, but I don't know much about them. Craigslist is pretty good. Is also pretty good. And then probably be careful on the date. It just matters what kind of riding, because there's lots of bikes back in the 70s and all that they look like well, that's a name brand, it's pretty good, but they'll become a maintenance hog of making sure tires are still pliable and all that kind of stuff. So look for a modern brand name.
There's the list of the bike shops, sorry, so, there's a used bike shop, there's recycled, polka dot cycles. Even some of the other upper mainstream ones there might have some used bikes, but, and you know what's funny is I get people, as you can imagine, here at the bank, all the time send me stuff and ask me about bikes, and that's perfectly fine. Someone sent me a messenger this week and said, hey, I'm looking at this bike, it was a $1,000 Trek road bike a long time ago, someone's selling them for $50. And that's perfectly a good bike, right? So I would, you know, but again, I went through with that person, was make sure it's gonna fit you. It's an older road bike, so it's got down tube shifters. Nowadays, everything's up on the handlebars, even road bikes, the shifters are up there, so you might not like reaching down to shift. So those were things I ran through. I said the comfort, I mean, that road bike for that person wasn't what they're looking for. They wanted something more comfortable, something that would fit them better. So I said, it's a great bike, but probably not gonna fit you, probably not gonna be comfortable for what you're trying to do. But keep looking, because there are great steals out there, definitely, so.
Garage sales.
Yeah. Are there any signs of like poor maintenance or unsafe?
You'd wanna check.
frames that I should check?
And someone, I know someone maybe here in the room was cool enough that the person they were buying it from took it to the bike shop and they checked it out. And they said, it's a great bike, you know, the wheels are true, I mean, the brakes work, the cables aren't gonna break on you. But some of those maintenance things are maintenance things, right? Cables, the brake pads. I mean, if the wheels are straight, again, tires might need replaced, who knows? But those are things you might wanna do anyway, just for good measure, because they're not that expensive. A cable, a brake cable, well, that's got hydraulics, so, but brake cables are, you know, $3 or $4 for a cable.
Yeah.
I mean, tires, you can get decent tires for a little money, so those maintenance things you're gonna expect. I mean, if there's no major dents or damage to the frame.
Chip paint, it would be a sign that that bike's been used.
Been abused, if there's some bad.
Chip paint, and then my other thing, chip paint, what's the other thing I was gonna say? I would probably stay away from carbon. Carbon's really cool, but you don't know the history of it, and carbon hides cracks, or a steel frame, or, I mean, carbon's nice, but for racing.
Yeah.
And so there could be a really